Hello guys, our today's topic is human eye. In this video, let us see what all structures are present inside the eye, how are we able to see objects around us so easily, let them be very near to our eye or let them be very far, and some of the common defects in our vision. So for the structure of eye, our eyeball is approximately spherical in shape and the diameter of our eyeball is 2.3 centimeter. Okay, now let us understand the anatomy of the eye, that is the structures which are present inside the eye. Let us understand this structure. Let us imagine a torch is kept in front of our eye and the light passing through this torch is entering our eye. And along with this light ray, we are also entering our eye. So the first structure which we will meet is the layer of cornea. This structure of cornea is the transparent structure present in front of our eye. All the light rays will enter this cornea and will reach here. After reaching here, which are the next structures we are seeing? First is this iris part and this is pupil. So now this iris is somewhat like a regulator which regulates the speed of a fan present on our switchboards. So with the help of regulator we can increase or decrease the speed of the fan. Similarly, what does iris do is it regulates the size of the pupil. Whenever a huge amount of light is present around our eyes, it contracts the pupil and decreases its size, as well as when there is a dim light around our eye, it dilates the pupil so that more of the light can enter our eye. After the light entering the pupil, it reaches the lens. What does the lens do is, lens is a structure which converges the light entering the eye in such a manner that it can form an image on retina. So our main function of the lens is to converge the light rays entering the eye in such a form that a perfect image can be formed on the retina. Now, what is retina? So this part which we can see is the retina. This retina acts as a screen where the image is formed. Once an image is formed on the retina, there are some of the chemical changes that take place inside the retina, which creates an electrical impulse. The electrical impulse created is then passed on through the optic nerve to the brain. Through this optic nerve, these electrical signals are passed on to the brain, and here the light rays are perceived and and the image is formed. So this is all about the structures present inside our. Now see the topic of power of accommodation. Now, if we stand in our balcony, a faraway tree is also visible to our eyes. As well as if we hold an apple in our hand, that apple is also clearly visible to our eyes. Now, how is this possible? That far away objects are also visible to our eyes as well as nearby. So, our eyes have the power of accommodation. Now, as a definition, what we say, the ability of our eye to focus at different distance by changing the focal length of the lens. So, whenever we are seeing a faraway object, the focal length of the lens is changed so that we can clearly see that image, as well as if we want to see something nearby object, again the focal length of our lens is changed so that we can clearly see that object. All this mechanism of changing the focal length of the lens is carried out by ciliary muscles. So ciliary muscles is the structure which helps to change the focal length of the lens and help us to see all the objects clearly. Now, what does this ciliary muscle do is when we want to see far off objects like far off mountains, trees, what do these ciliary muscles will do is it will relax. On relaxing, the lens will become thin. So, on thinning of the lens, the focal length increases, which in turn help us to see far off objects. Now, I want to see an apple which I have held in my hand. What will the ciliary muscles do is ciliary muscles will contract. Now, this is the lens. Here are the ciliary muscles. If these contract, they will put an pressure on the lens. So now the lens will become thick. So on thickening the lens, the focal length will decrease. Now the focal length is decreased so that we can see the nearby objects. That ability of our eye to focus at different distances by changing the focal length of the lens. Now we we see how easily our eye changes the focal length of the lens and we can see all the objects, be it nearby, be it far, very easily. Now let us see some of the defects of the vision. So mainly there are two defects. First is the myopia, second is the hypermetropia. So now first this is a normal vision. What have we seen in this normal vision is the object, rays are coming from the object in the lens, they are converging and the image is formed on the retina. This is the object, this is the image. It has exactly been formed on the retina and we can easily now see the image. But first defect is myopia. Now what happens in myopia? There is an object far off. From the object, light rays are coming. Lens is converging them, but now the image that is formed, instead of being formed on the retina, is formed in front of retina. Now, because of images formed in front of retina, we are not able to see the image very clearly. This defect is said to be myopia, which is also called as nearsightedness, because we can easily see the objects kept near our eyes. But when far off objects we are trying to see, we are getting a blurred image. This defect can mainly happen due to two things. First is because the anterior posterior diameter of the eyeball increases. That is, this distance between the lens and retina, if it is increased, that is the anterior posterior diameter. If it is increased, in that case, the image will form in front of the retina. Or the second thing is there is an increase in the curvature of lens. Now, this lens which we see, if its curvature is increased, that is, it is curved. The front surface of the lens is, if it is excessively curved, the image will be formed in front of the retina. Because of causes, these two are the causes which we find in myopia. Now, next, let us see what happens in hypermetropia. Hypermetropia is also said as farsightedness because we can easily see far off objects, but the nearby objects kept in our hand or nearby, we are not able to see them properly. So basically, what happens in hypermetropia? the light rays from nearby objects. If we keep an apple in our hand, the light rays will be emitted from that object. It will pass through our lens, but after the lens converging the light rays, the image will be formed in back of retina. Instead of it being formed on the retina, it is formed behind the retina. So again, we will not be able to see the objects very clearly. That's why hypermetropia is also said to be farsightedness because far off objects can be clearly seen, but nearby objects cannot. So, what all the causes are there? First, anterior-posterior diameter will decrease. That is, the diameter length between the lens and this retina will be decreased. And the second can be decrease in curvature of lens. That is, if this is the lens, this anterior curvature will be decreased, and that's why the defect is there. Now we have learnt about the defect, how we will correct that defect. So for myopia, we have seen that the image is formed in front of the retina. So what we need to do is we have to decrease the converging power of our normal lens so that the image is again formed on the retina. So what we will do is we will add a concave lens in front of our normal lens. That is by using spectacles. In spectacles, what lens we use is concave lens. This concave lens will decrease the converging power of our normal lens, and the image which was earlier formed in front of the retina will now be formed on the retina, and we can easily see the far off images. In hypermetropia, what is the defect? The image is formed behind the retina. So now what we will be doing? With the help of spectacles, we will use convex lens in front of our normal lens, which will help in increasing the converging power of the lens, which will help us to form the image on the retina. And now the defect can easily be solved. So in myopia, we use concave lens, and in hypermetropia, we use convex lens. Now the third defect, that is presbyopia. It is basically an age-related condition. It is caused as the age increases, the ciliary muscles, which is regulating the focal length of the lens, is weakened. So there is a loss of power of accommodation, due to which we usually have a problem in seeing nearby objects. We can easily see in our grandparents who have difficulty in reading the books because the nearby objects are very difficult for them to see. So that is presbyopia. This is basically human eye topic where we have seen that what all structures are present inside the eye. Also, how are we able to see the objects in front of our eye very easily, and some of the common defects, that is myopia, hypermetropia, and presbyopia.